Network.
It's 7 o'clock. It's Thursday night. I'm Mac James, stand-up comic, and it's time for Stand Up for News. Welcome back, nation. Welcome back to another adventurous and exciting episode of Stand Up for News. We are stand-up comics. I am your host, Mac James, James Esterline, and we tell the news. Here's my co-host, Robin Savage. Say hello, stand-up comic, Robin Savage.
Hello, and happy Pi Day. Happy 3.14 Day to all people out there in listening land. We'll talk about it later.
I heard it was National Pizza Pie Day.
Oh, yeah.
Any type of pie you want, it counts all the same.
Yeah, the pie.
You're doing math material. I'm not good at math. And our other
Thank you for turning out my for my headsets. That was awesome.
And our other co-host here, stand-up comedian, Captain Jim Marvin. Say hello, Captain Jim Marvin.
Yes, and partially deaf Captain Jim. Ahoy out there on the airwaves and the ocean waves.
She cranked it up now.
She cranked it way up. She's like, dude, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear Mac James.
I thought that was everyone's volume.
No, it's adjustable depending on where the mics are, where the headsets are plugged in there.
Well,
and we don't know which ones are.
You should have that stuff to our producer, Matt. Say hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt. And Jim, for what it's worth, I am sorry you're going deaf.
You're sorry I'm going what?
I'm sorry you're going Why?
It's the oldest joke in the book, just like me.
So we had quite a week, Matt. We just all featured another Stand for News live event we did it for Ordinance 1 last night.
Oh gosh, we had so much fun.
Yeah, we got paid and everything. It was great. What's so funny about that, Jim?
That is a true fact.
We got paid.
I'm not used to getting paid for anything.
So Ordinance 1 is considered one of our sponsors now, if you technically look at it like that, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Stefano Capicato, and thank you, Ordinance 1. We will look forward to coming back individually or together again, because I featured there before. I got I got like paid that time too. Plus I got like a coupon to Chick-fil-A.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hate Chick-fil-A though.
Should cash it in anyway.
It's not my favorite. Yeah, at all. So then you guys did really good last night. How'd you feel about the dancing black man that looked like, what's his name? Chris Rock. But he danced like Michael Jackson. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought he was going to come up and do comedy because I kept calling him Newport Richie Chris Rock. And then he left like halfway during my set. And then right when Jim started doing his set, he busted a few moves.
He was busting new moves nonstop.
Well, your response was point. You turned around and started having a dance off with him. So here's the picture, you guys. The bar, you're facing the bar when you're on stage performing. And behind you is a giant glass window. They have curtains on it, but they don't shut the curtains. That faces Main Street, historic Main Street up there in Newport Richie, right? Right?
Yeah.
That's how it looks. And then people walk by. So you got crazy, homeless people that come by and do funny things. And one time there was a guy they call Medicine Man, a local homeless guy, pulled his what do you call them, private parts out on stage. They had this guy on stage, I guess. I don't know if that's a genius by Stefano. I would not allow the man on stage. I wouldn't let homeless people on stage.
Oh, that's right.
It's unpredictable, obviously, what could happen, but then he turns it into a big bit, which is good too. So is it genius or bad to let somebody like that on stage?
Well, are you talking about last night when he let the guy on stage and the guy danced?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was...
I don't let anyone on stage that's not seriously wanting to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm going to go up here and goof around type thing. We'd let one guy do it at Birdie's once.
Was I there?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it didn't work out that time.
The guy who used to wear the rope as a belt, but I think he technically had...
Hey, that's me.
He had been preparing. He'd been preparing before we let him go on stage. But the other guy was a friend of the bartender there, and she's like, he's super funny. He got up there and didn't do anything. He bombed.
Oh, he
didn't even have one joke.
Well, it's scary.
Bomb with one joke.
So what we're going to do today before we get to the news is I didn't invite a guest on purpose, and Manny's not here. He thinks because he even has the day off tomorrow. He's off on Fridays. He's so tired from last night's show and working all day that he couldn't make it. Whatever. You were going to pick him up, right, Jim?
I was ready to get. I was ready for another episode of Comedians in Cars, getting Manny.
Yeah, and that's always fun. But not today, I guess. But whatever, Manny. You don't get your interview today. We interview each other.
Oh, okay.
Because you never really got interviewed here, but all the other comics did, right?
Yeah,
So, okay.
I don't even know your real last name.
We're gonna start.
So when
We
we
will
order
never say it on
posters,
air.
It's kind of a curveball, but it's something I wanted to do for a while. So we're doing it today anyway, whether Manny's here or not. And when Scott calls in, we'll give him his interview. Well deserved. He's the co-founder of Stand Up for News. And we're going to start with, to my right, Robin, Macho Woman Savage.
Oh yeah.
Welcome, Robin.
Well, it's great to be
I
here.
go ahead and start the interview. I start gagging and saliva.
How do you pronounce your first name?
I first met Robin at her room.
Yeah, I thought
at
you
her
came.
room
Yeah.
in Smoke District in Tampa.
And
And
West
then
Chase.
she came to my room at Holiday Inn, which I quit Holiday Inn, and I'll tell you why when you interview me. They were giving me a great show. They were letting me run their bar. We were having fun there. Possibilities were endless with the rooms they have for stuff.
Yes.
But then, and then where'd you first meet her, Jim?
I think it was actually last year at Zoe's when we got in downtown
where you
St. Pete
first met
and
her?
Grand Central when we all got together with WrestleMania stars.
Yeah.
You were on the radio before that, weren't you guys?
No,
Before Zoe's?
I had not been on yet. But then
Guy
no.
No,
Yeah,
the
no.
first
I
time you
came
met Robin had to have been before that.
No, I
it
think
It
was-
was
that
here
was
probably on the radio.
no. I think that was
No,
it.
it was like a week before the radio. I think,
Zoe's was
I
Guy
think you
Dudley and everything.
told me about it, and I knew CP was going to be there. And then that's when I met
Okay.
Jim, and you were like, "Oh, he'll be on the radio too." And then
So
Yeah, and I came
that's
up-
our first time the three of us united.
Mm-hmm.
Did we have Manny with us yet?
We did not have
And
any.
we brought him along
No,
later when you and I found him at Tiki Tavern.
I found him in the alley behind.
Yeah, well, it was at Tiki Tavern. Rummaging
So
through
that would explain a lot. You found Manny in his home in the back of the tavern. Very nice.
some- rummaging through
Pretty
the trash
much.
can.
Don't worry, we love you, Manny.
Okay, so Robin, I'm going to ask you, where's the first place you ever did stand-up comedy, and then how did that set go?
first place I ever did stand-up comedy was in Clearwater at Coconuts when Coconuts was in Gulf to Bay. I think it's called like the Egg House now or something. It was oh gosh, yeah, it was definitely a Coconuts, but it was like a Larry ran Coconuts opposed to like a Bob ran Coconuts. But I did terrible. I don't think I even got a laugh. I didn't even have like a set with jokes. I had this. My first set was about like what would happen if I was on the Oprah show, because like that's when the Oprah show, and it was a whole reenactment of me being like Oprah, and she's like, yes, Robin, and it was really obscure. And yeah.
I want you to do that at our reset show when we finally do our reset show. You got to do your first set is the deal. And then you got to do the same set now years later with your experience involved and try to make it work.
I love
It's
the
coming
concept,
soon.
but I think it was so bad of an idea.
There's gotta
I
be
don't know
something
that I
funny.
can pull
I'm
it out
laughing
better.
about the concept of you meeting Oprah.
I
Oh,
think
my
I
goodness.
think I even made like a kid like from a wheelchair walk to me because I was on Oprah. Like it was so obscure and so silly.
Wow.
That's awesome.
The lepers were
Did you
cured and
like-
everything.
Because I was on
The
Oprah.
kid always had a dream of meeting Batman's sidekick, and then he shows up and it's his mom.
But I did that, and everyone in the audience was like, "What?" And I wasn't even one laugh. It wasn't even.
Did you do improv comedy before that yet, or
No, I
No?
guess I just was thinking like, oh, that's kind of my
first
humor.
time on a stage?
Yeah, I mean, I took a class at the Straz, and so I wrote it down thinking like, oh, this will be funny. And
So far, I like it.
it was
I
nice.
can't wait for the
Actually,
reset show.
John Whitmer, if John Whitmer's laughing or out there, he laughed, and he's always wanted me to like, because I took my first comedy class with John Whitmer, and John Whitmer's
guy.
always wanted me to bring that back, and I was like, no,
He's
I'm not
something
gonna.
else.
Yeah, but he was my first comedy friend, so yeah.
He got all twisted up in a bunch one day when we had to move our mic on the fly, and then he's like, got real mad, and I'll never come to this mic again. I'm like,
Was that out at the beach?
I was like,
I
we
think that
moved
was
it
our
like
first
a
Lucky
half a
Loser.
mile down the road because of some issue with the sound system. And then no big deal. Everybody showed up there instead except him. He's like, He's like, this is the most unprofessional. I was like, if you've never gone to an open mic that got canceled before, how long have you really been doing comedy, John?
I was going to say, I don't know that I've been to any professional open mic.
Why do you even use that word, professional?
Yeah.
We were getting paid, but it was just sponsoring stuff. Not at that one, though. That was actually a free show. Yeah. We didn't get paid for that one. So
that
right,
first
Mom.
Lucky Lizard,
Technically, you're right.
Yeah.
That lizard got lucky because of us, okay?
It was a different one, daiquiri, whatever. Let's not give them promotions. Mm-hmm. Jim, you had a question for Robin? Let's move this interview right along.
All right. What inspired you to get into comedy? Any particular comedians or shows or...
Oh, gosh, I always liked comedy. When I was little, I watched the Carol Burnett show. I am so old that SNL, when I watched it, was the original Not Ready for Primetime Players. And I fell in love with Gilda Radner and Roseanne and Dana and Jane Curtin. And she was like,
Coneheads.
The Coneheads. Yep. Yeah, I loved actually Jane Curtin and Dan Aykroyd on the news bit. So I love comedy. I remember when I was in second grade, I had a pair of those like rainbow suspenders, and I kind of have a bulging chin, so people would call me like Mork, and I took it as a compliment. I was nano. I always liked that.
I love you so much, Mom. I'm so glad we're together.
You too, Jim.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people got introduced to Robin Williams, was Mark and Mindy.
Yeah.
That's how I did when I was a little guy.
Yeah, he was brilliant, absolute genius.
I was watching that when I was like 2 and 3 and 4. So late 70s, early 80s. Jim, I don't know what other question you had. I just want to know, Mom, what was the greatest set you ever had and the best set you ever had? And you feel like that's the best moment you ever had so far doing stand-up comedy. Where and when?
Oh, gosh. One of two places. I went back to my hometown in 2011 and I did comedy.
Pick one.
Oh. Okay, I'll tell you what. As much as I like this one, I went back to Iowa, which is not my hometown. And did I ever tell you guys I wrote a book? So I was promoting my book, and I went to...
Who are you?
I went to Mount Pleasant, Iowa, because one of my best friend's cousin owns a bookstore there. And in conjunction with the book, I went to this theater. And this theater, it all happened around the time in this little town of Burlington, Iowa. They were having some fireworks spectacular. So they were like, we'll book you, but I don't think anyone's going to come. And so when I got there, they're like, we don't have a whole lot of tickets. And by some power of Facebook and the people pushing it, I ended up booking half the theater, and it was me and Dean Chardin was the headliner, and I featured, and then I got another local person to MC, and it ended up going from
go get your Mom.
Yeah, it ended up going from being 5 people. I think when I first. For the weekend, I first got there for the weekend, to packing out half of it. And my father was in the, it wasn't like strangers. It was strangers and it wasn't strangers. My father, my best friend and her entire family. And then little by little, it was about half the theater. It was really fun.
That's why we are all in the same attracted type circle. The go-getter and all of us. Because remember, that reminds me of walking across the parking lot from that place that said we couldn't perform there after we sealed the deal with them. To get in that other place to let us move the whole and take 50 people from one bar to another across the parking lot, because we can make it happen no matter what.
Absolutely.
So before you guys actually stand up for the news, this is a question for both Robin and Jim. If you had to pick 1 or 2 clubs where you guys have performed here in the Clearwater area, favorite place to perform?
Oh, mine's always going to be Side Splitters. Side Splitters is phenomenal. Yeah, it's in Tampa though.
Right. Well, I said in the general area. Jim, what about you?
Oh, it's always going to be Zoe's.
Where's that? In Clearwater, he said.
No, I said in the general area. That includes here, St. Pete, Tampa.
Zoe's.
Oh, yeah. I've never had an audience hate me more. My
favorite was Russo's, man. I did an open mic at Russo's with Dawn and stuff. So I got to say that. Other than that, in Clearwater, we did a show with Dick, remember, in Clearwater? Dick Colligan, he used to be on our show.
The one in the little park that we went to. Okay, yeah.
Nice to be called again.
Called again. Hey, Colligan.
Hey, Colligan, man.
Hey, Colligan, man.
Hey, Colligan, Dick. All right, so that's Dick. Sorry, it's Captain Jim Marvin's turn, Mom. You want us ready? You ready to interview Captain Jim Marvin now? Captain Jim Marvin. My first question for you is, where is the very first time and when that you ever got on stage to do stand-up comedy?
That had been a couple of years ago at Spitfire Comedy Theater in St. Petersburg. And they were running several open mics a week, and had a really good response. And so after going and watching a couple and getting together a few ideas, I got on the list. The way they did the list was, not like we do. We're like very orderly. They were like feeding a den full of jackals where you just like throw in a steak and run the opposite direction. I mean, just everybody just piling on the list. And so, eventually I just got brave enough to just, get in there.
They don't try
push Dudley out of the way.
When I go there on the line and they let me go up first and sign up first, like even when Jay Legend and Gordon were there, like, go ahead, you were here 7th, right? I'm like, I'm writing my name on 7th. Someone else is there. I'm scratching off. I got here 7th, you guys got here before me. You guys got I ain't playing. It was a little bit exactly what you said. You threw a big chunk of meat at a bunch of jackals.
It was a little chaotic. The startup process was chaotic, but the room was good, and the comics that showed up, are definitely some of the best in the area, and met a lot of great people that way.
I stepped on Gordon Dixon's shoes.
Don't step on Gordon Dixon's shoes.
I actually stepped on Gordon Dixon's shoes there, man. I apologize profusely because it was dark and my transitions hadn't adjusted yet.
Gordon Dixon's very sensitive about his shoes.
So like the next time I kept going to comedy shows wearing white shoes ever since. You notice that? Like once in a while I won't. I even have them on now.
Oh, you got some white shoes on now.
So I was like, walked up to Gordon. It's my last day. I walked up to Gordon Dixon. I was like, go ahead, man.
Just stop
best.
Away. Yeah.
They were Jordans too. They were white Jordans. I was like, I got to plug myself back in. He's like, he wouldn't do it. He's like, no, I was just kidding. So then, Jim, I know you did good there because I've seen you perform there. Was that sooner, or after that you met me? It was like right after. How far?
I started meeting you once I began to go down to Coconuts down on the beach. It was Coconuts at that time. I had been there for quite a while, and then all of a sudden I saw this other stand-up comic going up there and just literally doing his whole set about the news. I'm like, hey man, that's great. I'd love to do news stuff. Yeah, but sometimes the crowd doesn't seem to be so into it. And you told me about what you were doing here, and I'm like, man, yeah, an outlet for comedy news. My gosh, this is amazing. This is incredible. This is WTAN.
Mom, you have a question for Jim?
I do. I guess I can ask you the same question. Like, who were your influences? Who did you want to be like?
I almost literally. I mean, we're not terribly far off in age. I mean, I'm like 20 years older, but 20 years old. But
I'm 3 years old.
But influences like Robin Williams, like Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, the Muppets. I mean, the Muppets were crying out loud. Yeah, Fozzie Bear, and they just the whole team. And I started watching Saturday Night Live at a very early age too. Oh no, big foam shark! That's funny. That guy got eaten. But yeah, there was something about comedy, about laughter that I really enjoyed. And something about the stand-up comics who were up there doing it too that really caught on. And there was a real progression there from the 70s into the 80s and mid 80s when you started getting some very challenging figures like Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks, and even like Andrew Dice Clay. And you go like, okay, the boundaries here could be anything, and it could be, and then Carlin, they could be like real political. They can be, super sensitive, or, it can be kind of silly and just off the cuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, there's a whole range of things that can happen there. And it's just, I don't know, I was just in awe of it.
And your imagination exploded into telling us about Killy Wonka. Now here we are, Killy Wonka's creator.
Have you only done comedy in Florida, or have you done a hometown show in Maryland?
Yeah, no, it's just been in Florida.
But when you were up in Boston or whatever, Massachusetts, You didn't do anything when you were up there? You could have. You probably should have.
No, not
just to say you did. I don't know.
There wasn't quite the same outlet. There wasn't quite the same way to find out, like we have with these intertubes, to find out where those open mics are. And it was also the 90s too. And I know James doesn't remember the 90s, but people were kind of like depressed, and they just wanted to read poetry or sing some sad music in like a minor key. So it just the comedy was kind of left to the pros at that point. But now that, we've got everybody wanting to do it, we're hearing these different voices from different young people and sometimes older people who are getting out locally, especially after COVID, getting out locally and making making the whole thing big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, everyone that's done it, that seriously done it, has always had this urge to said, I want to go try doing stand-up comedy. And now, when was yours like legit? Were you doing improv first, right?
A little bit, yeah, because they were offering classes. They still offer classes, so it was easy to kind of step into that.
When was the moment that when you were like in your entire lifetime when you said that someday I'm going to try doing stand-up comedy?
Were
you watching a special? Was it?
Yeah, I think the first thing I kind of wanted probably probably when I really did it is like when I found out that we had open mics. Some open mics in the area. I'm like, I got to go to those one of these days. But it wasn't until, I passed by and found out, okay, there was like an actual comedy theater in St. Pete. I'm like, I'm going. I'm doing it. I'm doing all this stuff. I may not do well at all of it, but as Robin has seen, but.
No. Can I brag on Jim for 1 second? So
no, not about Friday night.
Okay, I saw Jim do some improv on Friday night. I thought he did a good job. He's not giving himself the benefit of the doubt, but I thought he did a really good job.
I'm doubting I benefited anybody with that performance.
You'll never catch me. I mean, I'm sure if you've seen it once. I had to participate once because the comedians that hosted a show I got booked at didn't tell me when I signed up for it, that we had to do improv with one of the comics. Like dating game and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Did not. I think I was funny.
The
crowd thought I was funny, but the other improvers didn't think I was funny. The other comics did, but the improver comics did. It was like half of them were improvers and the other half were like.
I think there's kind of clicks.
It's like he can't say that. Well, don't ask me what kind of pet. Okay, you're the lady. And then the question the host goes, if you could get, and I was like Mac James, right? If you could get me a pet, and that would, like say, and what kind of pet would you get me? And I was like, oh, if I could get her a pet, I was like, oh, he likes snakes. I got anaconda.
Okay, I think I'm seeing where the problem is here.
It's in my pocket right now.
Improv. I want you to tell James how you feel.
It's okay, though. He don't bite. And then the crowd laughed.
Did you break out the panda?
That's all. The panda bear. Okay, well, we got more questions for Jim. Jim, you grew up in the northeast, in Boston area, like
no, Washington D.C.
D.C. That's
right.
I
was thinking you were Maryland.
I'm sorry,
Maryland
I keep forgetting things that
it's okay.
Are important to you, not to me.
I kind of forget that stuff too. But yeah, I grew up in Boston.
Okay, so you grew up in D.C.
Yeah.
He grew up in Boston. His parents couldn't afford to send him to school, so he got a job as a janitor, and he was still friends with his Boston
Every day
buddies.
I swept the halls of Congress, sweeping up the MAGA hats.
Like university, and you could figure out impossible math problems on chalkboards.
And, every math problem's impossible to me, man.
You like these apples?
How you like them apples? I was trying to make you Matt Damon.
What movie are you guys talking about?
Oh wow, that just totally.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. Born Identity.
Oh, okay.
Because he thinks.
I wasn't thinking Matt Damon at all. Those Blues Clues went right over my red head.
It was about kids in Boston, and okay. Well,
do you have any more questions for this one?
me see. Do I have any more questions for this one? If you could open for anyone, like if whoever the most famous person came to town and was like, "Hey, we want you to open for us," who
Dead
would
or
that
alive, or just dead?
Dead or alive?
Or just alive?
Yeah.
be? I would say alive, like around
right.
today.
Alive. If Steve Martin came back
wow.
and to do stand-up comedy instead of picking on that banjo and wasting his life with that nonsense, yeah, I would love to open for him.
Okay.
That would be
Steve Martin.
my crowd.
Oh, wow.
Opening for Steve Martin. Steve Martin's impersonator, Captain Jim Martin.
That's true.
Yeah, Steve, look at him. He's gotten really short.
You don't impersonate. You just got
Play the
white
banjo.
hair. It's just the hair. You don't do his kind of style stuff, but I see the influence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, we have Scott Patrick, the man on a street, any street, you name one, he could be on it. He's not a man on the street. He's not a man on any street. He's the man on a street.
And he's on right now.
Say hello to Scott Patrick.
Hey.
Hey. You sound
Great,
excited?
Scott.
Scott Patrick, co-founder of Stand Up for News. We started this thing 2 years ago. You are a very funny stand-up comic. You're the man on a street. You can be on any street. We'll get to that later. But right now, we wanted to give you an interview. It's our turn to interview each other. That's why I didn't book any guests today. Manny didn't make it, so I'm going to pretend to be Manny later, and you guys can interview me, and I'm going to say the answers I think he would say. Probably think he would.
Oh, Manny, you should have been here tonight.
Oh, Manny.
I'm going to hit you right out the bat. Scott Patrick, you're one of my best friends in the entire world. I love you. I'm glad I met you, and I love writing material with you and stuff. So tell me when the very first time you ever did stand-up comedy was, and where it was, and how it went.
Well, I think that the first time I did stand-up was a little different than what others would imagine my answer is. I think the first time I did stand-up, I was like maybe 10 years old. We're at breakfast with my father and my sister, and the waitress came up and gave everyone their silverware but me. And I turned and I looked at the lady and I said, "Hey, lady, where's my fork and knife?" And my father slapped me right out of the chair. But it was at that moment I knew that I loved doing those types of things, and led me to do stand-up later on.
Nice. So let me ask you the exact same question, just a little differently. Where's the first place you ever got on stage in front of other people and other comedians were there, and it was like an open mic or whatever? And then when was it and how did it go?
It was at Dunedin Brewery.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
All right.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was. I worked around the corner, and I just went there to have a beer one day and a sandwich, and I saw on the board that they had stand-up, and I was like, you know what? I think that I could try this. So I went there the first night, and I drank so much, and they put me up last, which gave me more time to keep drinking. And I'm not sure how well the first one went. I got some laughs, but I don't know if it was because I was incoherent or my jokes were funny.
That's awesome right there. That's a good story. All right. So, Robin, you have a question for my good buddy. Go ahead, fire when ready.
Okay, we've kind of sort of been asking this to each other, but who were your big influences? Like when you got on stage, who did you want to be like, or who made you laugh prior to you going on stage?
I don't know if there was anyone that really inspired me as like, I think my biggest thing is that I've always thought that I was funny, but nobody really got my humor. And I kind of wanted to see if I could really push what I thought was funny. My biggest inspiration probably to do stand-up is watching other people fail at it. I mean,
So
you see,
many.
there's so many Netflix specials and so many things I've watched throughout my life where these people are terrible, and I think I could probably do better, and I've seemed to do okay at it.
Yeah, you're
I think you're pretty okay.
great joke writers. You are, Scott.
Captain Jim, you had a question for my buddy.
Yeah, where else have been some of your favorite spots to perform in around the area?
So Dubain's was a real favorite of mine. Is that still going?
That's still going.
I love that room.
That was voted Best of the Bay open mic comedy.
They won it again
last year. They won it again. And Matt's running a good show there.
Oh, I don't think I've ever been there.
You've never been
Soggy Bottom.
Oh,
Soggy Bottom was real good.
Love the Bottom.
Oh,
I love
Soggy
Tom Wise.
Bottoms. That's tonight, Jim. I got you signed up on the list. There was one spot left.
I was going to go.
I'm going home, so I signed it up for you.
Oh wow!
By the way, Soggy Bottom. Tom Wise loves you, Scott. He praises you a lot whenever I talk to him.
I would say that's probably my favorite place to go. But when you go to Dubain's, there tends to be people who are more like established in comedy, and they're more well written. And I feel like I have to like step my game up to fit into that deal. So. It's Soggy Bottom. I feel like I can just be myself.
Is that what you mean?
You know,
at Soggy, you feel that way?
No. At Dubain's, that's how I feel. But at Soggy's, I feel like I could be myself and just have fun.
I just feel like the crowd is kind of further away from the stage, so I have to like step it up a notch because then not everybody's sitting at those closer up tables, you know.
Yeah,
so you gotta like project it your set. Sell it a little bit extra.
If you're doing your set at the end of the night, I mean, they've heard so many like good jokes from good comedians. You can't just go up there with corny garbage. I mean, you gotta go up there with your A game. And I've made that mistake before.
You use corny stuff.
Corny stuff. They didn't like it.
So who's your biggest influences in comedy? Comedians that you grew up watching that you liked the most and said, I wish I could do that. I bet I could be funny, and those guys make me laugh.
Maybe Richard Jenny.
Oh, okay.
Richard Jenny just seemed so funny. It was like he could make something so mundane, but that we all do, but just make it endlessly funny. And he could just keep bringing up more topics without even punchlines or really tags. He just was naturally funny.
Definitely.
Yeah. Gosh, I haven't heard his name in a while. Yeah, he was a really funny guy.
And now that you live in another state from here and you're always out there on all the streets doing stuff for Stand Up for News, you haven't found a lot of places that are close enough to actually go perform at?
Well, there is a couple places, but I don't know. I guess my sense of humor, it just doesn't go well with a lot of places, and I tend to not want to try it.
Right.
You know, it's just the way it is. You know, like it was Dunedin Brewery. I love Dunedin Brewery, but my type of comedy is darker and more crass, and a lot of people there are a little more upper class and a little more crude, so to speak.
Well, I understand. I know people like that. There's places I think I have to adjust what I do when I go there and figure out the crowd. You know, that makes sense. All right. Anybody else have another question for Scott? I know you're doing a lot with the Twitch stuff. How's that going?
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm meeting a lot of people. I just hop into podcasts and I just get into their chat box and I just really just chime in and riff on whatever they're talking about it, and they end up engaging with me and they ask me to come back. They're giving me free subscriptions, and I end up kind of being part of their show just because they're responding to the ludicrousness that I'm putting in their chat.
Now, I heard a comedian tell the joke word for word that I heard you write and say on stage before. I don't know if you said it on the radio before. I don't know if you said it on stage when we tried Scott and me were the first ones that tried doing our Stand Up for News material on stage one night. Before I started doing it a year later, you know, when I met you, I was like, well, I'm going to start doing the radio again. I'm going to start promoting it when I go out to mics. So I'm going to start doing that old material on stage. But me and Scott tried it before. So who was the person? Do you remember?
It was Sam Morrill.
There you go. So like, great minds think alike, or this guy saw your clip. Or I told the clip. You wrote the bit, I think. And didn't I tell the bit that you wrote?
Yeah, you ended up you had some other things that you wanted to use it as like a tag with.
Yeah.
But sure.
So you wrote the bit. I didn't write the whole bit.
Right.
I'm the one that told him. Do you think he saw my video and said, I think I'll take a little bit of that?
I have no idea. I think it was an interesting take on it. It was funny, and I'm glad.
Definitely like great minds think alike all the time, though. So I would never accuse anybody, but it's flattering that I think that your material got either somebody else thought of the same type of situation that, is a great mind as well, or maybe he said pluck and took a little nibble, a little bite of our cookie, Right. That's good either way.
For sure.
Well, I guess who's that leave left? I'll be Manny. You guys can interview. I'll be Manny.
Can we interview James?
Yeah, but after
James,
Manny.
we want to speak to James.
Yeah, we want to speak
I'll be Manny, you guys.
Okay,
so Scott, do you want to ask Manny any questions?
Do I want to ask Manny any questions? That's very interesting. Where do you place your hands when you're riding on the back of James's motorcycle?
In his back pockets to keep my hands warm, obviously. And then when he farts, it's like he's turning the heat on a little. He gave me a ride to Ryan Gunner's boat once. That's the only time I ever rode on the back of his bike. Go ahead, anybody else?
So, Manny, how did you meet James?
Oh, I was talking to this hot chick during his people's set at Tiki Tavern. And this cool-looking big bad dude that looked really funny too. He's like a real funny guy, like a comedian. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, you gonna shut your mouth while I'm on stage, jabroni? Because this guy's trying to perform and you won't keep your trap shut. I understand you're talking to this hot chick, but shut the hell up, will you?" And then the guy's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, pipe it down there, X-Pac." And then I gave him the crotch chop, because he looked like I looked like X-Pac that day. Manny Vila looked like X-Pac, the wrestler with sunglasses and a bandana, and the beard. Any more questions?
How many crimes have you committed, Manny? Today.
Oh. Let's see. I can't really talk about it, but this counting's kind of hard. And so uno, dos, tres. Okay, I'm on probation. 0. Anybody else?
Let me put it this way. How much of my stuff have you stolen?
How much of your stuff have I stolen?
Yeah.
None of your material. Not one inch of your material.
No, I mean stuff from my house.
None of your material from your house.
What's your 5-year plan, Manny?
My 5-year plan? Oh, I only have like 11 months left on my probation. So
Okay.
11-month plan. That's what I have. Piss clean, and then pee clean, and then what else? Well, Manny's known for saying things he shouldn't on the radio.
That's true.
Yeah.
Don't do any drugs and don't get arrested, right? Well, anybody else? Got a question for me?
Where are your favorite places to perform where you haven't been kicked out of?
Yeah.
Well, James's house, he kicked me out.
Yeah. Jim's house.
I haven't been kicked out.
Robin's been kicked out of your house yet?
No, he doesn't even know where I live.
That's
well, guess
you
what?
probably want to keep it that way.
I'm gonna be my favorite place to perform is going to be Dave & Buster's, because I'm hosting Dave & Buster's Monday Night Raw, April Fool's Month, starting April 1st. Manny Vila hosts, and we have Ant's Rants. It's also Ant's birthday, you guys. Did you know
what?
that?
No way.
I saw that.
Happy birthday, Ant
He's
Rants.
one of our judges, and then we have a mystery judge, and then we have audience participation, and the list is full for the first 2 weeks already.
Fantastic.
One of you two is going to be the next host, or somebody else. We don't know. Anyway,
we are the young urban.
Yeah, we need a young urban type.
What's up, everybody? Keep it down in here.
There's a green room, you guys. There's a big screen and TVs for our logo.
And we all wash our hands.
Stanford Live events.
We have hand sanitizer up in front. Wear your masks.
They got posters and table tent flyers everywhere.
Nice.
They got a green room right behind the stage. So Ace Williams, correspondent of Stand Up for News, is going to bring his stage and his backdrop. And then we got a sound system coming that the entertainment director, Vinny, his name's Vinny. He's really cool. Me and him worked out all these cool details. Mac James and him worked out all these cool details, because Mac James is the one that got the room for us. But I'm hosting. I'm Manny Vila. I'll be hosting you guys.
Oh, Manny, you're going to do a great job, man.
Yeah. I won't be there for my daughter's, what's it called?
Quinceanera,
yeah.
That only happens twice, I think.
No, I think it's just when a girl turns 15.
Oh,
so it's only once in a lifetime.
Instead of her quinceañera.
Priorities, man.
Manny's tired. He should have been here.
Yeah, and then he's going to his daughter's quinceanera.
Yeah, all right. So now you guys can interview me if you want. Scott, you get to go first, though.
well, first about the Manny thing, I was thinking, I wonder if he's considered, trying to do comedy in New York and just claiming to be a legal immigrant. That way he gets free hotel, $10,000 a month, and free food, and then he can just try comedy out there.
Don't give him any ideas.
He'd still have to sell candy on the subway.
He's going to have a Youth Association Sports League t-shirt on. These are for my mom and dad told me to sell you these. Silly, man.
This is for my team.
All right.
He's going to have to get thicker with the Spanish accent because he has zero.
Repeat after me, Manny.
Did I do a good impression of Manny, you guys?
You did.
Spot on.
I thought Manny was here.
If I closed my eyes, it would have been like,
if you close your eyes, you would have smelled the difference because I'm wearing like bamboo deodorant and Fuji. This is Fuji spray, body spray. Manny smells like
constant fragrance of black and milds, James, is how I know you're within a half-mile radius, dude.
Okay. Manny smells good too.
Okay, so how did you first start in comedy, James?
I started writing comedy stuff for my bar guests because I was a professional bartender for the past 24 years. This 23rd of March. This guy, Nature Boy Ric Flair, was sitting in my bar, and I'd been his bartender for like 4 or 5 years there at this fancy hotel, and he said, "You want to do stand-up comedy someday? You're real funny." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I told him like a stupid joke about that I met the President Obama, and then Obama let me hang out with him, and he's like, "James, you're a funny guy. You want to hear a joke I wrote?" I'm like, "Yeah, Obama, tell me a joke you wrote." He said, "Well, I have a white grandmother, right? And I have a black grandmother because I'm half white and half black." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. That's like my cousin Lewis because my aunt, she married a black dude, And then he's like, yeah. He's like, "What do you think I call my white grandmother?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you call her?" He said, "I call her my graham cracker." So,
and that's what impressed Rick. Yeah, that's what impressed Ric Flair.
One day I hadn't done it yet, and he's sitting in my bar, and this wedding group comes in, and they're just the bridesmaids and the groomsmen and the bride and groom. And then they're sitting there, and Chris Berman was there, and Condoleezza Rice was there, and Mitt Romney was there because they were standing there here for Tampa's RNC when he was going against Obama.
Oh, I remember the RNC.
Are these the real people, or are these like fake people? Ones?
You never heard of them?
You just said
Obama joke. You never heard of Mitt Romney?
Yeah, and Condoleezza Rice. Yeah,
Can I get to that part later? These people stayed at this hotel because this is where the fancy people stayed. And the people, Jim, have you ever been to the Vinoy Hotel before, Jim?
I work at the Vinoy Hotel.
You work at the Vinoy Hotel.
The man the smartest man in the Vinoy Hotel is also the one who cleans his floors. Okay.
You clean the floors. Okay,
I said I worked there.
You'd work there?
No, I work at the marina.
That's the marina. I'm talking about the hotel.
Oh, what's the difference?
I don't know. You don't get to hang out with Mitt Romney at the friggin' and Condoleezza Rice.
I really feel like I'm missing out.
You interrupted my story with ignorance. Sorry, bud. You want me to finish or just say?
Finish. No. Tell us more about Condoleezza Rice.
Okay, well, that's different. Okay, that happened before the party came in. So they were there. The party comes in. Ric Flair goes. They're like, "Oh my God!" They're more impressed with Ric Flair than Chris Berman or anybody else.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so the party's like, "Oh, they're taking pictures of Rick, and he's buying them all champagne." And Rick goes up to his room and comes back with his backpack, and I know what that meant because I'd seen him do it before. And he breaks out all these photos, and he starts signing them and giving them away to people left and right. None of these people are real wrestling fans like me, obviously, or Matt. Matt likes wrestling. None of them are like me or Matt. And so I'm like, there's one left. Even my coworker Bob asked for one. We're not supposed to ask him for anything like that, and we could get written up for it or in trouble or even fired. So he said he got one, and then I was like, Rick, I was like Nate, because he's like, he wants his friends to call him Nate, so I always called him Nate. And I told him when he said that, I was like, that means you got to call me Mac James, He's like, what's that? I was like, that's my stage name when I used to do rapcore music. And then Nate, she's like, what do you want? I'm like, who do I got to wrestle to get me one of those signed? These these people don't even care about wrestling. They're jabronis, man.
Yeah, and Ric Flair has probably spent more money on spilt liquor than you make.
Yeah, they got lifetimes combined, everyone in this whole building.
Whoa!
Yeah, man. He told me, oh man, I've seen him drink like 8 bottles of Pinot Noir in a row. Like easily.
I'm not surprised knowing Ric Flair. At least he's not Andre the Giant with his drinking exploits.
Yeah, dude, Nate would
I want another
Pinot
kick.
Noir, red Pinot Noir wine in a chilled pint glass. He'd pour it and he'd take a shot.
That seems
And then
like
I'd get him another glass. I'd give him another chilled glass.
Yeah, but that sounds like a Ric Flair thing too,
That's
from
what
some of the
he
stories
did.
I've heard.
So he's like, he taught me how to do it. He's like, yeah, you're like, cover your, you got to close your gag reflex off and just slam it. Oh man. Anyway, I was getting drunk with him that night a little bit while I was bartending. I can't get fired now that I don't work there, but I was drinking a bunch of Grand Marnier, and we're both a little toasty. And Rick, Berman and them are all there in the party. And I was like, you got one of those left. What do I got to do to get one of those? Do I got to wrestle somebody? He's like, yeah, come here, James, come here. I'm like, all right. So I had to come around the bar, and halfway around the bar, I'm like, what am I doing? This is going to be messed up. Because he's an old man. I'm not going to get beat up by an old man. I'll fight back. I'll fight back and probably get fired. Because he's like, come here. And he grabs me by the shoulders. He's like, you're a funny guy, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'll sign one of these for you if you promise to get on stage and do some stand-up comedy because I think you're real funny. He's like kind of shaking me around. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it then. Fine, I promise. He's like, all right, well, you like slapstick comedy? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I was like, yeah, I like slapstick. And he's like, and he laid one of his signature chest slaps on my chest, man.
Oh.
They're called knife edge chops for those of you who don't follow the wrestling business.
He didn't do it like a forehand chop. He did it like a slap chop, So I was like, I didn't fall down. I was like, whoa, I was a little drunker than I thought, but it still hurt a little bit. When I got home, it stung. I took my tie off, my jacket, my shirt, and my vest of my bartending outfit.
And it left you a handprint.
And there was a big handprint. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was there. I took a picture of it. So then I started doing stand-up comedy.
Ric Flair chopped you so hard he knocked sense into you.
Yeah. Sense of humor.
Well, that's subject to interpretation.
Well, he thought it was funny. That's all I care about.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's the story of why I started.
Okay.
Well, what were you inspired by? Were we inspired by comics, funny shows, other stand-up comedians?
I always wanted to do stand-up comedy. Always wanted to, but never did. When I saw Norm Macdonald on Rodney Dangerfield's HBO special with Andrew Dice Clay was on it and some other funny comics.
Well,
he made me super laugh. 87 or 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to do it someday. But then I got into other things I was interested in, like bartending. And I got like my master's, and I've got some competitions I've won and placed in and stuff like that, and part of the guild, and then that got boring after a while, Bartending isn't as fun as it sounds, you guys.
So you do like the hippie shake. I thought I saw you flip the bottles and all that.
He does the cocktail thing. He does. Oh my gosh,
I can flip some bottles.
Right, well,
I won second place in the fastest bartender competition in 2011, and there's like 3,000 people downtown. It's like they shut off First Friday downtown. That's how they did it for this competition. 36 other bartenders fell short. Me and the girl that taught me how to bartend, Lisa Bailey, who has retired, basically making me now first place, right? Now I'm the fastest since she's retired.
When's the last time you competed in this contest?
It doesn't really matter because they haven't come back. They haven't come back to St. Pete or Tampa yet. But I was invited to nationals because she retired.
Oh, okay.
And then so I didn't go because it was in February. I ain't going to Washington, D.C. in February. No offense to your homeland there, bud.
That's when the cherry blossoms come out. You're missing out a lot.
Yeah.
I'm good on the north, the cold weather in February, so I passed on that. But I want a trip to the Bahamas. Nice. But I'm done doing that stuff. Yeah. I think this is the last the run at the bartending. I've been doing it full time for 20 some years here.
I would think it would be physically exhausting after a while.
My knees are pretty much shot. My elbows are shot. My back and neck. Well, I used to haul sheetrock before that for about 8 years too. So my whole body's in constant pain.
Yeah.
It's the only feelings I have anymore. So I don't have feelings. I lost those in the hospitality industry in 2015. And then,
just that year.
I stopped caring 2 years ago and created my new philosophy, the IDC philosophy. It'll work for you because it works for me. So the concept is, if you don't have feelings and you choose not to care about things, the universe can no longer affect you. With its, when you ever heard of the laws of attraction? The positive and negative. If you think positive happens. Well, then there also is balance in the universe as well. You know that.
Balance
so
in the false.
The balance can't be there. If you ask for something, the universe will also have to take something. But if you don't ask for anything because you don't care, it can no longer take things away from you. It can just keep giving things to you. And when it takes away, you can't care either when it gives or takes. You have to stay. Pretty much it's a numb feeling, if you want to call it a feeling. I created an app. It's AI. It's all of my generated answers for everything anymore. It's called AI. It's AIDC, though. So I have to think of things like when people say, "How are you today?" I'm okay. That's the generated response I get. But really, I just say, I don't know. I'd have to have feelings to answer that.
Along those same terms, I heard that the Danish were the most happy in all of the world.
I love Danishes if I had feelings of love when it comes to food.
Well, it wasn't that. It was like the people from Denmark, because they don't have expectations in Europe. They don't have expectations. So if they go out, it's kind of the same thing. If they go out in general as a people, they're just like, we're going to go out for dinner. They're not like, we're going to go out for dinner. It's going to be the best. They're just like, we're going to go out for dinner. And if it's a pleasant time, then they're nothing but happy.
How excited were you going to be about dinner when every place serves nothing but, marinated fish and pancakes?
If you have Danishes for dinner, I would be excited. I don't care if I had feelings that I could choose one that's not AIDC generated.
Or maybe you should go to Denmark. I don't know, one of the two. To become AI or go to Denmark.
We're taking this tour on the road to Denmark, and we're going to make them start caring about things. Damn it!
Do you have any other questions for me?
What's next for Matt James?
Yeah, what is next?
Dave & Buster's is what we're going to start working on. Eat, play, drink, and laugh.
Wow,
Okay.
we've added the laugh in there because
it's eat, drink, play is their thing.
Eat, drink, play.
But now it's going to be eat, drink, play, and laugh. Yeah, my managers, they are all friends with me on Facebook. Everybody there gets along. I love working there. I quit Holiday Inn to go work there, and therefore we lost the shows at Holiday Inn because
that was a good
I quit.
idea,
And they didn't want me to continue working there and performing either. But after a year of being at Dave & Buster's, they said, "Hey, James, you want to start doing some comedy here? We see how successful Stand Up for News is with your different rooms and your different showcases. And we like this stuff we're seeing. If you could bring that kind of crowd here." I was like, I could bring my friends. All my friends are comedians, and we could fill this place up and do an open mic, or we could do showcases. And I think we should do the mic first, because then it's like giving back to our homeboys,
Yeah.
It's spreading love to our friends.
Yeah.
I don't have regular friends anymore. After I started doing stand-up comedy, I only hang out with comedians that don't have.
We know how you feel.
Yeah, I was going to say we have the same conversation.
Exactly how you feel.
It's better to make friends with the same dirty mind as you.
Yeah.
Conversations are so much more enjoyable.
Matt, welcome to the crew.
Thank you.
We got Knockin' Boots Wednesday coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a real great show.
So
we have Taurus featuring. I'm going to host that one. Mm-hmm. We got Twisted Tiki on the 22nd, St. Pete Beach. Rick Stupinski won Best of the Bay in 20. I'm
going to be at.
He's going to be headlining.
I'm going to be at Sunshine City Comedy open mic.
Promo
all right, do the thing.
Dan Gerlach, super funny guy, is going to be opening, and then you are going to be featured or hosting.
I'm hosting, yes, and then tomorrow night I will be down at Sunshine City Comedy for their open mic, late night open mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're plugging their open mic?
I'm not hosting.
I'm just that you're going to be there.
I'm plugging that I'm going to be at an open mic.
Nice.
Because I know I'm going to be there, and that's the only thing I really have to plug.
Though.
Aside from hosting Twisted Tiki.
That's our show. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Manny, for not being here.
Thank you.
And Manny, thank you. It's okay. We're not mad. We're just joking.
Yeah.
We love it.
Stand up for news. We'll stand up for you. You can stand up too. Don't sit down. Stand up now. Stand up for news.